At the beginning of this story, we see a sniper named Bob, who is currently in Africa and is on a mission with his partner Donnie. Now after a while of surveillance, Bob sees a terrorist vehicle and he kills this terrorist without delay. Now before they could get out of here, a group of terrorists raided them with bullets. Now here Bob did his magic and killed many of these terrorists. But as soon as he saw, this situation started getting out of hand and an enemy helicopter started dropping bombs around them. Now here Bob asked for help from the CIA, but he didn't get any answer from them. Now in the middle of this shooting, a bullet hit Donnie and he lost his life. Now seeing this, Bob turned red with anger and he fired many bullets at that helicopter. Now initially his aim was wrong, but after a little effort, he killed this helicopter. Now after 3 years of this incident, we see Bob, who is now retired from the army and is living a normal life in the jungle with his dog. Now one day, a man named Isaac Johnson, who is the head of the CIA, went to meet Bob. Actually, Isaac got the news that soon there is going to be an attack on the US president. So, he went to meet Bob so that this attack can be stopped with the help of an expert. Actually, Bob's job was to make different plans to kill the president, so that Isaac and his team are ready for every upcoming challenge. Now initially, Bob refused to do this job because now he has retired and he doesn't want to go back to that old life. But when Isaac told him the seriousness of the matter, Bob also agreed to do this job. Now before leaving, Isaac gave all the information to Bob and called him to Washington next week. Now, after a week, Bob reached Washington, D.C., where the president was going to give his speech. Now, after many days of research, Bob told Isaac that there will be an attack on the president in Philadelphia. Now Isaac thanked him and asked him to come on the day of the president's speech. Now such days passed, and very soon, the day came when the president was going to give a speech in front of the whole country. Bob reached a room with Isaac from where he could see the whole city. Now, as soon as the president went on the stage to give his speech, Bob told everyone that this is the best chance to attack the president, so we should get him off the stage as soon as possible. But before he could finish his speech, a police officer in the room shot Bob. And on the other side, an unknown sniper shot the president. Now, as soon as he saw this, Bob broke the window and ran away. And as soon as Bob left, Isaac's team cleaned up the room and left Bob's sniper rifle and his fingerprints on a table. On the other side, an FBI officer named Nick tried to stop Bob, but Bob left him very easily and handcuffed him and left. Before leaving, he told Nick that he didn't kill the president and he was being trapped. After this, he sat in Nick's car and started running away from the city. But before he could escape, a FBI team started chasing him. Now to escape from the police, Bob put his car in a car wash and quickly healed his wounds. But after a while, when he came out on the street, a police team surrounded him from all sides. Now since Bob had no other way, he put his car in reverse gear and fell into a river. After this, the FBI team searched this river well, but they didn't find Bob because he had already hung on a boat and ran away from here. Now after a while, he reached the shore and stole a truck and ran away from here. On the other side, all the news channels started showing pictures of Bob on TV and started calling him the murderer of the president. After this, we see the FBI headquarters, which was very angry with Nick because Bob had tricked him and ran away. Now here, Nick told his senior that while running away, Bob told him that he didn't kill the president. However, Nick's senior didn't believe him and he demoted Nick and made him sit in the FBI call center. Now at night, Bob went to a supermarket and before going inside, he cut the electricity of the shop. After this, he went inside the shop and bought some stuff from a lady. After this, he went to the toilet of the shop and treated his wounds. Meanwhile, the lady in the shop started suspecting him and she immediately called the FBI. Now here, Nick picked up the call where this lady told him that Bob had come to her shop a while ago. Now Nick trusted this lady and told this to his senior, but due to his past mistakes, his senior didn't pay much attention to this. Now all night, Nick worked on this case and got all the information about Bob. Now the next morning, a lady came to his office who was actually Nick's colleague. Now when she saw Nick working on this case, she told him that the police officer who shot Bob, someone murdered him last night. Now after hearing this, Nick believed that Bob is innocent and someone has tried to trap him. On the other hand, we see Bob, who went to meet a woman. Actually, this woman was Donnie's widow wife Sarah. Although she met Bob for the first time today, she has known him for many years because after Donnie's death, Bob had written a letter to her and he used to send flowers to Sarah every year. Now Sarah had also seen Bob on TV, so she refused to help Bob. But when Bob told her that he is innocent, Sarah let him in. Now when he came in, Sarah told him that the president is absolutely fine, and that day, that bullet had hit a politician from another country. On the other hand, we see Nick, who is checking all the buildings. Meanwhile, he reached a building where he found a sniper tripod, and this building was only 500 meters away from the crime scene. Now seeing this, Nick felt a little weird because he read in Bob's file that Bob is a very good sniper and he kills his target from miles away. So how did he miss his target on the other hand? we see Sarah, who was a patient's nurse, and now she is treating Bob. Now, after a while, when Bob regained consciousness, Sarah told him that the government has even killed his dog. Now hearing this, Bob was very sad, and he swore that he will wipe the stain on his name, and only Nick can help him in this work. Now here Bob made a plan, and according to this plan, Sarah went to meet Nick in a cafe. Here Sarah told him everything, and also gave him Isaac's car number, so that Nick can investigate this, and this will create fear in Isaac's mind. Now Nick did exactly the same, and started tracking the car number. Here Isaac also found out that an FBI officer is tracking his car, and this is the same officer whose car was robbed by Bob. Now before Nick gets to the root of this, Isaac's people kidnapped him and beat him up badly. Actually, they wanted to know how much truth Nick knows, but even after a lot of efforts, Nick didn't tell them anything, so they decided to kill Nick. But before they could kill him, Bob killed all of Isaac's people with the help of his sniper skills. Now here Nick told Bob that he knows that he is innocent, so he should surrender himself to the police so that the law can help him. However, Bob clearly refused, because if he didn't take revenge from Isaac, he will do the same to someone else in the future. Now Nick also agreed and was ready to support him. On the other hand, Isaac and his friends found out that Bob sends flowers to a girl named Sarah every year, and as soon as they found out about this, Isaac sent his men to kidnap Sarah. On the other hand, Bob and Nick went to meet an expert of weapons, where Bob asked this man whether it is possible for a bullet to go through another gun, and the men said that yes, it is possible. This technique is called paper patching, where the bullet goes from one place to another. Here this man also told Bob that only one person can aim so accurately, and that is Mikhail. Now when this man told him about Mikhail's appearance, Bob immediately understood that Mikhail is none other than Michael Sander, who was in his team with Isaac. After this, Nick called his office and found out about Michael Sander, who was in Virginia at the time. Now that night, Isaac's two men entered Sarah's house so that they could kidnap her. Now here Sarah killed one man, but unfortunately the other man caught her. Here Isaac also realized that Bob must have known everything about Michael Sander, and he will definitely go after her. So Isaac made a plan that when Bob and Nick will come to Virginia to catch Michael Sander, then we will attack them and kill them. Now, according to the plan, Bob and Nick reached Virginia and went to a supermarket and bought all the things needed to make a bomb. Now Bob knew that Isaac and Michael will also attack them, so he also taught Nick some sniping so that he can help him when the time comes. Now, the next day, Bob went to Michael's farmhouse, and Nick sat far away and told him the location of all the guards. Now Bob killed all the guards, one by one, and before going to the farmhouse, he placed a lot of bombs in the nearby bushes. After this, he went inside the farmhouse where Michael was already waiting for him. Here Michael told him that actually, our plan was not to kill the president but to kill the leader of the other country, because that day he was going to tell people about that village which was destroyed by Isaac and his team because of an oil company. Actually, 3 years ago, a big oil company was supposed to plant a pipeline in a small village in Africa, and to do this, they had to vacate the village. But when the villagers refused to do this, Isaac and his team killed all the people and buried them in a big grave. Now here Bob understood that 3 years ago, when he was in that village in Africa, why did the US Army leave him and Donnie to die? And now Bob realized that not only Isaac but also the big politicians of this country are involved. Now after telling all this, Michael shot himself, and at the same time, Isaac's people attacked Bob. Now Nick, who was sitting far away, activated all the bombs outside, and from inside, Bob started killing Isaac's people one by one. Now, after killing all of them, Bob came out of the farmhouse, and at the same time a helicopter started chasing him. Now since Nick and Bob were already ready for this attack, they killed Isaac's people. Now as soon as that helicopter came on top of an oil tanker, Bob shot that tanker and blasted it. And in this explosion, that helicopter also got burnt to ashes. Now let's look at Isaac and his team, whose tension was increasing because Bob was getting closer to them. On the other hand, Nick called the FBI and told them that he has caught Bob. Actually, Nick did this so that the matter would reach Isaac and he could contact him. Now this plan was successful, and in the next few minutes, Isaac called Nick. Now here, Bob talked to Isaac and placed an offer in front of him that if he leaves Sarah, he will delete that recording of Michael Sander in which he is told how Isaac and his team destroyed an entire village of Africa. Now Isaac had no other option, so he agreed to this deal, and the next day, they decided to meet on a snowy mountain. Now the next day, Isaac took Sarah to that mountain. Suddenly, a man walked towards them, but Isaac's sniper shot him. Now Isaac thought that he killed Bob, but this was Bob's plan, and this man was Nick, who had placed a bulletproof metal inside his jacket. Now when Isaac's sniper shot Nick, Bob got to know the location of the sniper, and here Bob shot a headshot and killed the sniper. Along with this, he shot the man who was holding Sarah's hand. Here we see the FBI chief who got a letter from Nick, and through this letter, Nick gave him all the information about this mission. Now after reading this letter, the FBI team also went to that mountain to arrest Isaac and Bob. Here after killing the sniper, Bob came in front of them, and here Nick took Isaac and his team's weapons. But then Sarah took a gun and killed that man because he had kidnapped Sarah and tortured her a lot. Now here Bob calmed him down and started talking to Isaac's teammate, Meacham. Here, Meacham told Bob that you can't do anything to us through that recording because the big officials of the government are also involved in this scam. Till now, Bob also understood that if he published these evidences, then the people of the government will kill Nick and Sarah along with him, and that's why he burnt this recording in front of them. Then the FBI team came here, and along with Bob, Isaac and his team were also arrested. Now after a few days, Bob was presented in front of the court, and in this court, Isaac and his team were also present. Now here Bob got his rifle at the crime scene so that he can prove his innocence. Here Bob told the judge that he removed the firing pins of his gun before leaving the house that day, and it is impossible to shoot with this gun without firing. Now to prove this, he also shot at Nick, but because there were no firing pins, that bullet remained inside the gun, and this proved that Bob is innocent. Now this court told Bob that he is innocent, but he didn't take any action against Isaac because the last evidence against him was also burnt by Bob. Now that night, Isaac and Meacham went to their farmhouse and started celebrating their victory. But then Bob came there and started killing Isaac's men, one by one, and as soon as Isaac stood up, he shot him in the chest and killed him. Then he came inside the house and killed Isaac's partner, Meacham. Now while leaving the house, he made a blast in the gas pipeline so that no evidence against him remains. Finally, Bob took his revenge and got justice for all the people killed in that village.